Now, the Labour Party is considering making it easier to change gender. Imagine if somebody read that headline to you 10 years ago. It's easy to change. You think, well, sure, changing gender, number one, surely, isn't that impossible? Number two, if it was possible, wouldn't it be something that would take a great deal of going through all manner of hoops and hurdles to change gender? Talking about changing your shoes or your hairstyle or even where you live. To change your gender? They're going to make it easier anyway, God bless them. The party thinks the current process is dehumanising and want to make it less medicalised. Plans could see a single family GP signing off the change rather than a panel of doctors and lawyers. Let's speak to Stephanie Davies-Arai, founder and director of Transgender Trend. Stephanie, we already know we're living in an upside-down, topsy-turvy, Alice in Wonderland type existence on this one, and this essentially compounds that. I mean, this is the, latest basket case response from Labour. We're going to make it easier.
Labour are presenting a solution and there's not a problem. It's very easy to get a gender recognition certificate already. It takes 8 to 12 weeks and there's been no complaints by people who've gone through the process and nobody's ever said it's dehumanising. So where are Labour getting this from? And it makes them look so old-fashioned. Have they not been keeping up? Have they not been looking at or noticing or listening to women about the problems of men deciding they want to be women, entering women's refuges, toilets, changing rooms, sports? We just had the case of the Edinburgh Rape Crisis Centre, where a man who was CEO of the centre, who decided that he was a woman, has prevented women from getting the single-sex care that they really need. And so are Labour not noticing what's going wrong with this system already for women? It makes them look as if they're not listening, they're just not keeping up. And the other issue, and the issue that really concerns me, is that it's the 18-year-olds and the older teens and young adults. Have Labour not read the final report of the Cass review, which specifies that age group should have a follow-on service from 18 to 25. The NHS are following Cass's recommendations. They're going to do a proper review of the adult clinics who refused to pass on data to the Cass review, which really obstructed important research. And so, the direction of travel is that these young people will get much more careful and cautious treatment from the NHS, and yet legally they're going to be able to, and let's be clear, change the sex, not gender, the sex on their birth certificates much more easily.
Just because a GP says, okay, you've told me that you are not a boy, you're a girl, and so I can now alter the records accordingly.
Yes, and, how will that impact these vulnerable young people who are, as Cass reported from the Child and Adolescent Services, have multiple mental health problems, gay and lesbian children, children from the care system, going at age 17 into adult clinics. So we're going to make it really easy for them to change their legal sex before they've been properly assessed and treated at the adult clinics. Now, I think the review of the adult clinics is going to take at least a year. I think it's going to be the next scandal.
I was literally about to use that phrase. We've been talking about and continue to talk about the blood inquiry, the blood contamination scandal and the subsequent inquiry. Do you think, Stephanie, in years to come, we'll look back at this and say you won't believe what was happening? From about 2015 onwards, we started doing weird things. A bloke put on a frock and a false pair of boobs and somehow got, legal status to be a woman. And toilets were no longer divided. Anybody could use whatever. You could call yourself. Do you think it will get to that? And I'm not saying this to make a crass point. Will we get to that stage where that's how we look back and view this period?
Absolutely. It's been a decade of madness and it's beginning to change, but Labour are not keeping up with that change. Yeah. All of the negative impacts of gender identity ideology on society have been well documented certainly over the past 5 years. Labour need to be looking at the actual impact of allowing particularly men to legally change their sex on their birth certificates to say that they were born women is a big deal. It should not be a quick, easy process. I think it's a very quick, easy process at the moment. It should not be made any easier. It's completely against the direction of travel of society, of the NHS, of women's concerns, of well-documented instances of women losing out and women self-excluding from services and women not having the privacy and the dignity and the safety of single-sex spaces.
Indeed. Stephanie, thorough stuff. Thank you. Stephanie Davies-Arai, founder and director of Transgender Trend.